with Dr. Turf, Ed Wyatt and Alice Gander.
Welcome to Betstars and Stripes again on this Sunday night, all brought to you, of course, by Betstar. Visit betstar.com.au, and at Betstar they love American sports, so they're giving you $2 power lines on every NFL game every Sunday at 4 p.m, so been open for a few hours. Head to betstar.com.au or betstar.mobi and take advantage of this great offer. We will jump straight into it. We've got the old crew back together again, but Alice Gander, nice to have you with us on a Sunday night.
It's fabulous to be back, Darren, and we've got the, as you said, the old crew back together, so it should run very silky smooth.
Ed Wyatt, nice to have you back after a couple of weeks.
Darren, good to be back. Weather's certainly, I've gone from about 7 degrees to about 30.
And Doc, of course,
yes.
Regular feature on SEN over the course of weekends
Thanks.
and beyond. Nice to have you here again.
Yes, thanks, Dash. And yes, I allowed Hutchie to put his 2 bobs worth in last week. How'd he go?
We had to carry
Got a bit
him,
excited.
We had to carry him.
He's a battler, isn't he? He's a battler.
I don't believe that.
One thing I found interesting, you're discussing it off air, that the notion of spoilers, of course, it is 2012. It's almost impossible these days to avoid results of sporting events. But,
you know,
Thanksgiving footy. Yeah.
Thanksgiving footy was tough for me because there was 3 games. I did have the odd little investment in
all 3.
No, and just to you're trying to avoid results, and geez, it's hard. I mean, but you tend to answer the phone on mornings where you've taped something. You say, before you say hello, you say, "Don't tell me the score."
Yeah. I do the exact same thing.
So do you guys have friends that are deliberate spoilers? I've got a few friends of mine that are deliberate spoilers.
No.
So they'll send you a text. So you can't read the text without you can't avoid it. The text is there, you've got to read it.
And when you actually get a text or a message that doesn't exactly give the score away, you try and read more into it than the stuff you know.
Someone will just see something.
So
and say,
true.
You get a text, "Hey, wow, what about that?"
Yes.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Yes.
It does kill you. It absolutely kills you. Because I had a bet in the Jets game, which was, I know you didn't see it, Ed.
I hope you took New England.
I took New England, who I think are the most, I'm not saying they're overrated, but they've had 2 of the most misleading weeks in a row.
Sure.
But no one's got any idea how bad the Jets are at the moment. Because they, when was Thanksgiving? So it was last Friday. Last Friday our time.
Yeah.
It was arguably the most inept performance I've ever seen. It was absolute train wreck. And yeah, sure, found out the result before I got to watch it.
Give us a feel, Ed, in the States. What's the biggest game / weekend of NFL? I mean, is it Thanksgiving weekend or Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving is really big because it's a tradition and it's a holiday where traditionally you get together with family and you sit around, eat a lot of food, and watch football.
Yep.
So other than say the playoffs and Monday Night Football, and if a big game happens to pop up, Thanksgiving probably is because you're just you're a captive, you're a prisoner. Even if you don't like football, you're sitting in someone's living room with a turkey being delivered, and there's games on all day long. So, it's pretty big.
There's always the turkey that the president, doesn't he,
pardons a turkey.
Pardons a turkey.
It's a great tradition. Millions of them are being slaughtered.
Yeah.
He pardons one.
And we think it's okay because he actually sets one free.
It's crazy. What a tradition.
They even they played a college game on Thanksgiving, didn't they?
I believe the day after. Normally, there used to be. It would always be Texas A&M, a rivalry that's gone on since 1890. But because of the whole college restructuring and realignment, that's no longer played.
Just
that rivalry.
Run that past us, the restructuring, and
it's insane.
The Big Ten.
It is crazy right now.
Just explain what that to us.
Well, in a nutshell, conferences used to be geographically based. So you had your Wisconsin, Iowa, Ohio State, and they all played together. And then you had USC and UCLA and Stanford and all those people.
Pac-10?
The Pac-10, which is now the Pac-12. So it all started with people adding teams because there are 2 things here. A, you add teams, you can add a television market. So you go, hey, we've now got Denver involved in the Pac-12. So that creates more money. And also you can split it into divisions, have a championship game, which also creates more money. So it's all about money. And the weird one was this week where the Big Ten added, which now has 12, by the way, but still called the Big Ten. Because they added Penn State and Nebraska.
So what happens when Playboy wants to do the girls of the Big Ten?
I don't know. I know they just have to. I don't know. They'll have to add some more. They have added Rutgers, which is in New Jersey, outside New York, and Maryland, which is outside Washington D.C. 2 nondescript programs, and 2 programs that are essentially broke. They've had to cut sports because they don't have enough money, and the Big Ten and Maryland came to this agreement. They wanted the TV markets, and Maryland and Rutgers, to their credit, I will say, admitted we need the money.
Right.
They're only doing it for the money. So it's just another shot in the gut to those of us who love the tradition in college sport. And that's just going out the window. And most people thinking about 15 to 20 years, there'll be 4 huge conferences maybe, just split into like these big super conferences. Little guys will be pushed by the wayside, and it'll just be all these billion-dollar enterprises.
With that aside, over the past number of years, I mean, 1 and 2 seeds have always presented themselves and pretty clearly. But this year looks like Notre Dame.
Well, Notre Dame's undefeated, so
Yeah.
you're not going to get an argument from anybody because that's the way the system's been set up.
But no one
unfortunately.
thinks they're the best team.
No one thinks they're the best team. I think most people think Oregon's probably better. I think most people think that Florida's probably better after Florida destroyed Florida State today.
Yeah.
I think Florida's a legitimate team. Alabama, certainly. So there are a lot of teams out there that people think are better than Notre Dame, but Notre Dame played by the rules. They beat the people in front of them. Part of the problem is the way they did it, Doc. There was a missed field goal. The Pitt missed like a 15-yard field goal. Stanford had a score that should have been called. So there have been a lot of lucky, quote-unquote, and I say that because the Irish are involved, the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. But look, you know what you're going to get out of it? People are really ecstatic. You're going to get the biggest rating of an event on cable television in the history of the United States. Because Notre Dame's involved. They're saying it's going to be a massive, massive audience. It's going to pump more money into college football. It's like, as I say this all the time, it's like the Yankees being good, Collingwood being good, the teams that people love to hate. When they're good, it's better for the league. It really is.
What about coming back to those Thanksgiving games? What do we make of the Jets? I know we've been very vocal on the Jets all season. We've been very vocal on Sanchez and Tebow, and we've been very vocal on Ryan.
As bad as they've been, they hit rock bottom last week. I know you didn't.
I deliberately, by the way, Doc, didn't watch it. I watched the first 2 and enjoyed them, and I just went, you know what? I'm not going to watch this Jets game. I've got other stuff I need to do. I read about it. It sounded like a debacle.
I mean, they fumbled it. They turned it over in the red zone. Sanchez was running back with the ball and ran into one of his own players and dropped the ball. It was like watching a schoolboy team. It was Rex Ryan, whose body language on the sidelines was horrible.
Right.
Still no Tebow, though.
And I don't think I actually now think it's too late.
Yeah.
I think now it's too late
But
because you don't have a season to save. You're almost throwing him to the wolves. Is it worth restructuring your offense? See, Denver made a decision last year. John Fox said, we're still in a playoff hunt. We can make the playoffs, but we're going to have to restructure this offense and take a leap of faith. Yeah. And they did it. But the Jets aren't going to do it.
They've got to do something. I mean, I understand it's no longer about the playoffs. They're not even in our Super Bowl markets anymore. You can't bet on them.
35 points. 35 points in the second quarter.
Yeah.
Including, I think they scored 3 touchdowns in like a minute. It was
crazy, wasn't it?
It was hard to believe what you're watching.
I mean, why wouldn't they be trying to mix things around and start trying to find some chemistry or things that work or things that don't work for next season? Let's worry about next. I mean, the loss is irrelevant. The New England were $1.33 favourite to win the game.
Yeah.
So the loss is not what's important about this. It's the kind of loss. It's to get smashed forward, 49-19, to get smashed to that degree. My take would be, let's start worrying about next season. Let's put Tebow in there and let's try him and see if it works for next season. If it doesn't work with Tebow in there as well, we might as well trade him. Let's get rid of him.
Yeah, see, the trouble is I don't think you're going to get there's not that mentality now. Guys aren't going to go out and want to play for Tebow now because the season's lost. Denver had that thing where guys who didn't really like the offense they were running still said about Tebow, this guy gives us a chance to win.
Well,
so there was a total buy-in.
Yeah, they got playoffs.
Yeah, there was a total buy-in. The Jets are beyond that. The other thing, Al, a little bit different from, say, Australian rules football. Free agency will cause huge turnovers. I mean, Sanchez may not, he probably will, but he may not be the quarterback next year. They may make a deal and bring someone else in. They may draft somebody. So that idea of getting ready for next year almost doesn't apply. Yeah. It's almost like, let's just finish this damn thing out, limp to the finish line, everyone go away, and then we'll wipe the slate clean next year.
Yeah, Patriots have had 2 huge wins in a row. Brady
they're back.
Outstanding, but
I know.
An element of doubt.
I agree with you.
I don't buy into him yet.
I agree with you. Well, it's still that offense is great. That defense is struggling a little bit, but yeah, it's an interesting one.
What about the Texans? They ran around $1.57 favourites. They got up second week in a row in overtime.
That was a
great game. The Lions
2 missed field goals in overtime,
and a weird call.
Yeah,
how about that? Where the play is reviewed. It's a weird rule, and they're going to change it. But from what I read, they're going to change it.
Tell the listeners what.
Well, coach can challenge by throwing a red flag if he thinks something's gone wrong,
and he shouldn't have.
He should not have thrown it because this play player's knee was down, but he got up and ran in for a touchdown. They called it a touchdown. All scoring plays are reviewed anyway.
Yeah.
So he should have just let it go. He got so angry that he threw his red flag. And the way the rule is, if you do that,
Play on.
it's a 15-yard penalty against you, and the play stands.
Yeah.
So that means they can't review it. It's a really weird rule, and I think they will change it. But Jim
Arguably-
Schwartz did that, and he got burned.
And Detroit lost because of it.
They essentially did.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Detroit. I felt really, really bad for the front of the home crowd.
Yeah.
They played really well.
They're 4-7, and they don't deserve to be 4-7.
They could be 7-4 probably.
Yeah.
You know? It was a real heartbreaker. But that was a good game, and then that Redskins-Cowboys game.
RG3.
What a crazy game that was.
How is this? I mean, you've seen far more
Outstanding.
of this than us, but what sort of a rookie season is this?
I've never seen two quarterbacks when you throw Andrew Luck and RG3 in there play as well. And we knew this. That's the funny thing. We all knew these two guys are super talented. They've said about Luck the most NFL ready rookie in years. Griffin won the Heisman, and we knew how good he was and what a good kid. They're both great kids. I think that's a great thing too. They're not idiots. They're not getting in trouble. But Griffin's been remarkable.
How old are they, Ed?
They'd be, 22 maybe? 23? Something like that.
And Dallas, who just about out of business now, but again, they're going to be unlucky not to make the playoffs, Dallas, because they've actually, I mean, they gave up
They'd won
huge-
2 in a row, I think, for the first time until losing in this game.
Yeah.
The trouble with Dallas is the same
they're
trouble
5
they've
and
had.
6,
The
aren't
same
they?
trouble they've had for the last 3 years. They were over-reliant on Romo, no running game,
They
and
gave
an
up a-
inconsistent defense.
Gave up a huge start again.
Same problem. They've had this problem, and that's why I think Jerry Jones at the end of the season, the owner, is going to have to just do something, bite the bullet, make a deal for Romo. And I like Romo. He's a competitor.
He threw 400
He's
yards
gutsy.
and 3 touchdowns, and they got beat.
I like Romo, but it's just not the right fit anymore, in my opinion, and that's not necessarily Romo's fault. So, but good game. I mean, the Redskins holding on for dear life, and only Dallas's kind of porous defense kept them out of it. But big win for the Skins. I mean, that keeps them remotely in the chase. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but it gives them some hope. So I thought 2.5 really good games on Thanksgiving.
And what about, before we go to the break, we'll touch on the NBA. The hot story is obviously the Lakers.
Yes. Yes.
They can't seem to get it right. They've had a coaching change, which has been a big change, and that was meant to be the saviour of the club or the franchise, and hasn't gone according to plan. They lost to Sacramento and they lost to Memphis, wasn't it?
Again, I think it's going to take time with the Lakers. I do think they have the right guy in there. There were always questions over Mike Brown's coaching ability, especially when he was with LeBron. So that didn't surprise me so much. Mike D'Antoni, horse of a different color. You know, he's listen, push the ball up, run and gun. That's what they like to do. That's what Steve Nash likes to do. That's what Kobe, I think, likes to do. So we'll have to see. We'll give it some time. I mean, let's reassess come the new year. But look, it was never going to be a quick turnaround. I think it'll be a slow turnaround.
It is a long season. So it's an 82-game regular season.
Yep.
And when we had this conversation 3 or 4 weeks ago, Ed, I was with you, and I was saying, listen, the Lakers will take some time to gel.
Yes.
Just give them time. They'll be right. Let's not get carried away early.
Now you're not convinced.
I'm actually a little bit concerned. They're 7-7, and they're losing to teams that they shouldn't be losing to. They've still got a lot of talent on the court. And this you see it in all sports. It doesn't matter what sport it is. Off-field distractions never help a team on field or on
Their
court.
pre-season form was awful, wasn't
Awful.
it? So was the New York Jets' pre-season form was awful as well,
It
wasn't it?
was that whole Tebow fiasco.
Yeah.
I mean, cameras trailing. I agree with you. I mean, look at the Olympic swim team to pull one out of fresh air. That whole development, that whole build-up was terrible. There were all these incidents, all these things kept coming up, yet we still thought they were going to dominate. I agree with you guys. That whole build-up can really, really affect.
Can New York win? So Miami's 10-3, New York are 8-3, Memphis 9-2, San Antonio 10-3, Oklahoma 10-4, Clippers are 8-5, Lakers 7-7. Can New York win it? They've been 21-17 to win the championship.
Great start.
Yeah.
Look, all the usual suspects are in that list, by the way. I don't think any of those surprise anyone. We'll have to see with the Knicks. I'm not a huge believer. I was pretty critical of them, to be honest with you, but they've proven me wrong. They've been very good. 8-3, though. I think they were 8-0, weren't they?